30s.
I did.
And I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how life was during that time, since it was the Depression and things like that. I was wondering if you could tell me, was it more difficult for people to go to school during that time?
Actually, it was. It was like a different culture. It was almost, we were very privileged to be able to go to college. In the first place, there was no money. We all worked.
Right.
We earned our way here to college, and it was a real precious time for all of us because we were kind of levelized during the Depression. Everybody was the same. And when we came, we were so surprised. It's been a wonderful institution since way back. I mean, the integrity was here, and the teaching classes were wonderful and thorough, and of course we were disciplined. We had chaperones for everything.
Really?
We couldn't go to town without 2 chaperones. We
Really?
walked to church with 2 chaperones, but the main idea is that we worked, we earned our way.
What kind of jobs did y'all have?
I worked in the library and as a secretary. My father had taught me some business while I was out of school. I came here in 1934 and graduated in 36, and I worked in the library and as a secretary to one of the professors, and I was among the lucky ones. A lot of the boys and girls had to work on the farm because we produced almost everything we had to eat came off the farm.
That y'all ate here?
Mm-hmm.
The things that y'all ate here came from the farm that was produced?
The cafeteria, it was a small group of people. The numbers that you deal with now, that wouldn't have been possible then,
Right.
To deal in the same
Right.
way. But we were like family. We stayed here on weekends because we couldn't go home. We didn't have vehicles
Right,
unless
okay.
our parents came and got us, Nobody had a car. And it was a little bit hard having so much supervision, so many chaperones for everything you did, but I guess it was worth it,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
it disciplined us when we should have been disciplining ourselves.
Right.
But it was a real privilege.
What were some of the more popular fields that people studied in during that time that people would like to go into, that they thought that would be a good career?
Not in my case, but in most cases, the girls took home ec. You know what that is?
Yes, ma'am.
Home ec, and the boys were concerned with agriculture. We had a big agriculture department, and the bottom line was education. Most of them wanted to be teachers. And the state superintendent of education he became state superintendent of education. He was one of the graduates in our class. So that speaks well for that, doesn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
And mostly, though, teaching and home ec and agriculture, and a few of the people went into sales,
Yes,
that
ma'am.
kind of thing, because that was an upcoming thing.
And,
But skills were not taught as such.
right.
I think they got those at home.
Yeah. Was PRC a college that prepared students for another university, like it still is today, or was it a formal final education?
We didn't have the 2+2 program that we have today, but people who were able financially to go on went on without any trouble to what is now Southern and Mississippi College and Ole Miss. A few people went on to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. That's what my family did, Mississippi State. But we were well prepared, all of us. I mean, without exception, I think. Actually, we had Latin courses in Latin, and world history was important, and there are a lot of things that have kind of been diluted and faded away now, but
Yes.
We had the main structure that we needed in our classes.
Okay, what were some of the sports that were played? back
Football, basketball, no baseball, but basketball and football were really important.
then? Yes, ma'am. Did women play these sports also? Did
Women
women
played
play
basketball.
too?
Mhm, yeah, they had a good, fine women's basketball team.
They were successful. Weren't they?
Absolutely.
Yes, ma'am.
And the football team, too. One unique thing about the football team, they recruited young men from the eastern states. Mr. Seligman, who used to be here, was one of the recruits, and he was here when I was here and as a player. And they did well. You know, I don't know the reason behind that, but it happened that we had a lot of people who were recruited from other states.
Were there any other activities that y'all were able to do besides the sports here on campus?
Oh yeah, we had band and we had dances every Friday night in the gym, and we had everything that was contained on the campus was permitted, you know.
Yes, ma'am.
And we had track. That's unusual, isn't it? And we'd have cakewalks and entertainment. We had a lot of musicians, and it was just fun to get together and share music, you know. You know, this was the first junior college
This was the first
in
junior
Mississippi,
college in
and one of the
Mississippi.
ones in the nation,
Really?
which is something to be proud of.
Yes, ma'am. How has the campus in general changed since you attended here, as far as the buildings and where the way things were set up here, or some of the buildings that might still be here, or different things like that?
The hurricane destroyed two of the better buildings, but Whitehall, it was here. That's where I stayed. And Moody Hall is named for my husband's family, and it was here. And the dorms, excepting the new dormitories, have not changed that much. The presentation, the image has not changed that much, but I'm glad for the progress that's taken place.
Yes, ma'am.
I was on the Board of Trustees when this building was revised, but this was we called it the dining hall formerly, you know, and it's been modified and changed greatly, but it's still on the same site.
Is this where the cafeteria was at?
We called it the dining hall. And a lot of the students, you know, worked in the dining room, served the meals and helped with the cooking and all that, so. And we had to eat. Let me tell you this, a bell rang at 6 o'clock in the morning. The big bell that is mounted out there would ring at 6, and you had to get up. If you didn't come to breakfast, somebody came to see what was wrong.
Really?
And we all lived in the dorm.
Yes, ma'am.
The town students were allowed to come to school. They had to come to high school here, you know. This was the 11th and 12th grades of high school as well. The same facility. But we blended in with them really well. We were a little bit envious of their freedom, but...
Yeah. The town students, they walk to school and when they got here.
They had school buses, but I was not a part of that. I don't know how that worked. The athletes would have to go in the yellow school bus wherever they went.
Wherever they went, yes, ma'am. I was talking to my mom about this interview, and she said that when I told her who you were, she said that my grandfather was Bishop Barker.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
You
That was
don't
my
mean it.
No, ma'am. That's,
he was from Oklahoma, wasn't he?
No, he was from here in Hattiesburg, but I think that it was his brother that married your sister. I think that's how my mama put it to me.
No, not my sister. I remember Bishop, but I'm sorry. He married my husband's sister.
Okay.
My husband had 10 sisters who all attended Pearl River. And he attended Pearl River, and I attended Pearl River, so it's kind of been a family thing. But Bishop Barker married my husband's sister. That's the way it was. Yeah, it's okay. I'll talk to you later about that.
Okay. I was just wondering, over the years, what has been, I know that you've been real involved with PRC throughout the years, and I was wondering what has been your connection with the college in general, that you could tell me if you had a connection that you felt like you really belonged here, or
Absolutely. The river runs deep in my family, but I have always really been grateful for what we were able to do because of what we got here. And it's real important to me and my family that we do everything we can to continue the mission and purpose of this college. And the student comes first, always. And I'm so pleased with the way it's being carried out right now. But we have some scholarships that we've established for our particular interest, and that's really gratifying to us that we're able to do that. But there's always been a real deep interest in the program for us. And I'm just thankful I can hang on and be a part of it.
Yes, ma'am. Well, that's about all that I have. All the questions. Mr. Ruckle told me not to make it too long and drawn out.
Okay.
I have a few.
Okay.
These are things that I've been interested in. For example, you mentioned that Moody Hall was named after your husband's family. How did that come about?
My husband's father was a supervisor when the men got together and decided they would use this sort of as a local college. It was a junior. I never have liked the name community college. I like it junior college, meaning that, something comes after it. But he was on the Board of Supervisors, and they voted to start the college in about 1919, I think, 1920 or whatever. And they were able to do it and set it aside as part of the high school. It was called AHS, Agricultural High School, 11th and 12th grades. And that enabled them to build on top of that the junior college, And all this was the president's home over there, the alumni building. And that's another thing, because of the low number of students, the faculty intermingled with the students. When we came on campus, they had a big reception tea in the president's home, but we were all required to go. We would have gone anyway, but that was part of it. And then when we had graduation, they had another tea at their home, and they were always having parties that we were invited to. The faculty, it was kind of interesting. But the name came from, because I guess he was one of the people who, the other buildings are named for the men who were part of that too. He was just part of it, and he was selected to have that building named for him. I never knew him, but that's what I was told.
So it was more of a social graces type atmosphere on
Absolutely.
campus, because...
Not more, but that was an important part, but that didn't overshadow other things. We really had a hard curriculum and had to study. The lights went off. They pulled the switch at 10 at night, and we had to study by flashlight if we studied any later than 10 at night. And that was a big thing with us, because you have to study.
Right.
You're in class until 4 and do your work, and then you go home to study. It just required that we had a flashlight that was pretty good, and it was interesting.
Are you originally from Pearl River County?
No, I was from Arkansas.
From Arkansas, and you came all the way down here
Yeah,
to go to
my
school?
uncle was the doctor here, and I was only 16, and my parents didn't want to let me go away at that young age, so he was sort of my sponsor, living here and all. So he was an old family doctor, and he was a school physician, so I didn't live with them. I had to live in the dormitory, but they took care of me, really.
I remember talking to you about this a while back, and you were talking about how much fun y'all had, even though you had strict supervision and chaperones. Could you tell a little bit about the things that you did during the week, just to let your hair out or something?
Well, music was a big part of it, but too, we did a lot of courting. You know what courting is?
Taking each other to dances and things.
Right. In fact, my husband, I had not met him, of course. I was not from here. And he rode a horse through the campus. By the way, there was a wrought iron fence all around this campus with a turnstile, to cross over down where you enter. And he rode a horse on campus one day, and I saw him. Oh, I thought that was the most wonderful thing in the world to see. But at any rate, we couldn't go off on a date. He would come and we'd sit on the benches around campus, or if we had a dance on Friday night, the town people could come. And there were a lot. I was not the only one who found their husband here. We all had socials and dances and musicals and plays. We had a lot of plays. Had a drama department that was really strong, and they put on a play about once a month. And then the sports, we loved it. I was a cheerleader in 1934. You wouldn't believe the outfit we had to wear, but at any rate, we enjoyed the sports. The basketball games were really competitive, and let me see we didn't ride in cars, that's for sure. I don't know. It was just a lot of fun. I mean, even to share a meal in the cafeteria when we were not working, it was just a lot of fun to be here and to be in the dorm with people that, you could meet and be a part of.
Do you remember approximately how many people were in your graduating class?
I think there were. I'm almost afraid to say. I would say about 25, maybe.
So it's kind of a close-knit group.
Absolutely. And we've kept up with that graduating class. They've been professional people, almost all of them, except me and a few of the women. We were not professionals, but we were part of a group who became doctors and lawyers and state officials, a couple of them, and just very remarkable number of them became higher up. But they didn't lose touch with Pearl River.
That's great. And you have a group that you meet with pretty regularly that were graduates there at Pearl River.
We meet socially as well as at homecoming. But unfortunately, a lot of them, every year there gets to be fewer and fewer. But we all share those good memories. Nothing's bad about it. I mean, we didn't feel that we were deprived at any point. There was one story that was told at one of the graduation exercises when Garvin Johnson is the person who became state superintendent of education. He was a little older when he got to come to Pearl River. His family accumulated enough for him to come to Pearl River, and he wanted to be an educator. So the first day we were in class, he hesitated to do the assignment, and the professor called him out in the hall, and he didn't have a pencil. The professor loaned him a nickel to go buy a pencil. Now that's how severe the depression was. You can't even relate to that, can you?
Not really. I remember we used to buy pencils for $0.25 in elementary.
Well, this is a true story that, by his own admission, that this happened. And that doesn't seem strange to me because, in the cafeteria, if you have biscuits and tomato gravy and homemade meat and whatever, you get used to it. You're thankful for it.
So the fare was, the food was quite a bit different than it is now.
Yes, it was so fattening. Oh my soul, we gained weight. You mentioned fair. That's another thing we were allowed to go to, is to the county fair in the fall. That was a big thing. We took great pride in going to that without chaperones. We could get them on the rides and we'd go courting, out of sight.
Well, you mentioned that academically you got a lot from the college. Do you feel like the academic standards were higher then, or maybe it was just the students were more interested in getting a good education? Because it sounds like most of your class went on to excellence.
Actually, I think that it was double-sided. It was for both reasons that you mentioned. We were very privileged to be able to go to class and learn, and then too, they had a strong curriculum, and really good teachers. Actually, it was a lifetime thing. The teachers all lived here and stayed here and made it their home, and so they sort of grew into these positions as teachers, and because they improved every year on what they knew. And we had a lot of teachers who went back to school and updated their education after they were here for a while. Teachers' salaries were $60 a month in that day and time. And most of the time, you were given, the teachers were given a warrant. Do you know what a warrant is? The county would issue the salary in a warrant, a sheet of paper saying that you were owed $60. You had to wait to collect that $60 when the money got in the treasury, the county treasury. So there were people in town who had enough money to advance these teachers. They'd take the warrant and hold it and give the teachers the cash, you know, it was not illegal, it was just a courtesy that they did to keep the teachers' money. It was severe. But can you imagine living on $60 a month?
I don't think so.
But I would say the curriculum was really strong and well done. We worked with Southern a lot. What was it then? It was
Teachers College.
Teachers College. We worked with them a whole lot. I mean, I'm sure that the teachers were constantly learning and going back and updating whatever had to be done or said. But it was really important to us for our parents' sake, because they were sacrificing for us to be here. And we wanted to, you know, do well for their sake as well as our own. That's what I would think.
Did you have the same kind of rivalry with Perkinston as we saw in the 70s and the 80s?
Right. I came from a very sheltered family, and when I saw that take place, I thought, "Ooh, my goodness! I don't know about this," but it was really fun.
Did you have Perk Week?
Mm-hmm. Sure did. Hell Week. Can't say that.
When did that start? Or do
A
you
week
know?
before the game.
I mean, when did it
The
start in the
tradition?
history of the college?
It must have started early on because it was here when I was here. I'm not sure when it started, but that's a long time ago for that to have continued.
I don't think it's quite as severe as it was when you were going to school here, or even as it was in the 70s and 80s. In
Yeah,
fact,
right.
It's kind of passed over, and I think there's still a rivalry there between the two teams, but we don't have as much activity.
I think athletically the rivalry is still there, but not from the spirit-wise, I think. It's not, it probably got too violent, and too much, you know, too much activity that was not good. Probably took over and they modified it. I don't know what happened, but I know athletically it's still there.
I recall one lady wrote me here recently and said that her grandfather was Brother Watson, or Reverend Watson, who was real active on campus, and I've just been trying to do some research into that. In fact, he's mentioned in the 1930 yearbook as being the father of Pearl River College.
Really?
And I was just wondering if you had ever heard of him or heard of his activities with the college.
And not Watson, I don't think. But that's entirely possible that I could have missed that, but I don't know that. I don't remember that. There was a Reverend Culpepper who taught, he was a Baptist preacher, but he taught history, and he had been to the Holy Land and toured Europe and all of that, so that made a big impression on us at that time. Hardly anybody that we knew had been overseas, so he taught history and made it come alive for us.
I know you can look in the old annuals and you see things that obviously were important to you that the kids today probably wouldn't think much of because of television and movies and things of that nature. But I know that as far as you were concerned, with the social life on campus had a lot more impact on the campus life, on the life here on campus than it does now, because, well, even though we have dorm students, I don't think they're quite as active socially
Well, your weekends are not ever spent on campus, and that makes a big difference. When you have to provide your own entertainment on weekends, you know it's a lot different. I've tried to not let this hang over into my family and be judicial about what my kids and grandkids do, because it's easy to bring up the past too much, and it shouldn't affect the way you all live. You have to find your own thing to do, but it did hang over into my family. We all had to sit down to meals together for a long, long time, and you know, and then as the family has grown, we've grown away from some of those things, and that's not bad. I mean, when you recall the past, I don't think you should be critical of the present. I think you should just recall the past for its own sake. But a lot has changed. It really has. And I don't know, do you really enjoy life?
Yes, ma'am.
That's
I really
good.
do.
You find your own.
I really do.
Well, that's good. I'm so glad. That's encouraging. It's sort of tradition. A lot of traditions come down in families, and I think in the families of the people who were here when I was here, that's sort of happened. I can follow and see. I'm one of the lucky ones who got to stay in Poplarville. A lot of my classmates moved away or didn't live here, and they couldn't continue that close contact. But I'm lucky enough to do it.
Ms. Moody, we sure do appreciate you.
I wanted to make one comment.
Okay.
The reason I think Pearl River is so valuable is because I think at the heart of the whole mission is still to educate a person to fulfill himself or herself in their lives. And I know I have one instance of a person that I knew who graduated high school and could not go to college, and he had to go right to work, and nobody interfered with that. He just went to work. And suddenly he saw an opportunity to come over here and go to truck driving school. And he took advantage of that and began to get certificates to do further things with the truck driving, you know, hazardous materials and environmental concerns and all. And he's now developed into a supervisor in an environmental group. And that meager start, you know, just taking hold of that opportunity. And I think that's what Pearl River is all about. No matter what type of education you want, you can start it here.
Yes, ma'am.
One of my fellow trustees one time told us in a meeting, he said, well, actually the needle comes unthreaded when you finish high school, and here you can get it threaded back. I thought that was a very astute comment that he made.
All right. Well, I certainly do appreciate it. This has been very beneficial. We hope to make these tapes available to
Oh dear.
to the library so that some of the students can go and see what it was like here back in the 1934 class year.
36.
36,
Mhm.
okay, 36.
34
class
to
year.
36 was ours.
And we're also going to keep a copy of it in our museum.
It's my pleasure.